There is perhaps no more damning indictment of a driver than being forgotten at your own home race. While yes, some may have given the nether regions of the grid a glance this weekend and thought, oh yeah, it's Daniel Ricciardo's home race, it seemed that through a continued lack of performance, more interesting events going on elsewhere, and a promising new hometown hero in the form of Oscar Piastri, that the coverage, the fans, and the paddock at large met the Honey Badgers race weekend with a resounding The pressure has been on for Daniel Ricciardo ever since he decided to end an early and enforced, I might add, retirement after just 10 races, jumping into the Alpha Tauri seat to replace the brutally dumped Nyck De Vries. However, it seems that the bubble has very quickly burst yet again for the Aussie, as he attempted to return from that McLaren horror stint, only to open up the door to the next generation and be dwarfed by its potential. The question is, has Ricciardo finally fallen short for the last time, and will we see yet another mid-season switch-up at the Red Bull sister team? Well, Helmut Marko has certainly given us some pretty firm indications. Want to know why the end is nigh for Daniel Ricciardo? The writing is on the wall, and if the performances don't pick up quickly, we may be in for a repeat of what happened last year. And stick around, because someone's already got his sights set on that RB seat. It's all just becoming a bit sad, isn't it? Daniel Ricciardo has long been a fan favourite due to his bright personality and memories of a time when he held a legitimate candidacy for the World Championship. What is left today, however, is a husk, a shell left behind after being hollowed out by an under-delivering Renault team and a brutal McLaren excursion that, while securing him a race victory at Monza, chewed up the Honey Badger and spat him out for a younger model in Oscar Piastri. In the run-up to the season, his old boss, Zak Brown, showed legitimate concerns about the RB package, claiming that it could make a sudden jump up the standings and challenge at the front. So far, however, Ricciardo has secured no points and hasn't dipped a toe into Q3. Even compared to his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, Daniel has fallen short, as before this weekend, Yuki had demonstrated some glimpses of legitimate pace and capability with ambitious qualifying, making it into Q3, and at least an adequate race pace. Helmut Marko in the lead up to the weekend gave both drivers a sobering message: speed up or get left behind. As Helmut Marko said, there's a lot at stake for Tsunoda and Ricciardo. Both might be hoping for a seat at Red Bull, and one should be well ahead of the other. So far, Ricciardo is a bit behind, but let's put it this way: Tsunoda's qualifying speed is okay, but in the race, both are too slow. I think 1 point would have been possible in each of the first 2 races. It's very difficult to score points behind the top 5 teams, and when you have an opportunity, you can't afford to make mistakes. You have to test the decisions in the absolute right order. And funnily enough, the very next race weekend, Yuki Tsunoda scores a rather impressive qualifying result and brings home a P7 to boot, firmly stepping ahead of Ricciardo in the team standings by 6 points. Not only did Yuki impress the fans with a level-headed and consistent display at Albert Park, he also impressed Helmut Marko, who lauded Yuki on an impressive display and made it clear that Yuki had met the expectations set for him earlier that week. Marko had this to say after qualifying, and if he was chuffed about the quali, we can only imagine how pleased he was with Yuki's race. He got into the top 10 again. That was an incredible performance. He was always there without mistakes. I hope that we'll get into the points now because the speed is there. That was already the case in the first 2 races. That would be great because the first 5 teams are so strong, so if you manage to get in there, that's an incredible achievement. Meanwhile, Ricciardo was knocked out in Q1, which on its own would be concerning, but the matter in which he did was more so. Not only did Ricciardo bow out in the first qualifying session just to see his teammates secure P8, he was not even on the cusp of making it out of Q1. Ricciardo echoed a sentiment we heard a lot during his time at McLaren, that being that he gave his all and that there was nothing more he could give, even considering the lap to be enough to comfortably move beyond the first qualifying session. However, it wasn't, and Ricciardo was left watching from the garage. The lap itself I was happy with. From my side, I felt like I got everything out of it, and then I saw I still wasn't good enough, let's say compared to Yuki. I'm a bit puzzled because I know what those laps normally mean, so I crossed the line being like, yeah, that was a good one. The concerning manner that I speak of is not necessarily the lack of pace. It's that the Ricciardo that screamed expletives into his helmet, the Honey Badger with as much of a grin as a killer instinct, seems to have faded away. While this might sound harsh and a bit extreme, just take a listen to what Ricciardo said following the race, as he spoke about what he deems to be a calmness that comes with age, but to us sounds like a driver who has lost his edge. I feel like the frustration I kind of put aside for today. I let that go last night and I didn't end up breaking anything. I felt like some objects were going to get smashed after qualifying, but maybe there's a bit of calm with age, I don't know. But anyway, I kind of knew what's done is done and tried to make the most of today, and obviously it's nice that there are moments in the race where I did have pace and I was able to show, okay, I can still get some good stints in there, but it was still good to get the laps. The most damning thing that can be said is that after the same sample size of races, that being 10, he has only done a marginally better job than Nyck De Vries did in the same period, securing just a single point scoring finish, 7th in Mexico, compared to Nyck's inability to score points at all across the same amount of races. This certainly isn't the upgrade that Red Bull would have been looking for, and the public pressure put out by Helmut and others around the team indicates that the sand timer on Ricciardo's future may well have already been started. If he doesn't pick up his game soon, we may well be in for another mid-season replacement, something that the Red Bull family, let alone the sister team, have no qualms in doing. Red Bull and RB will be looking to have secured a lineup to move into next year, and the words coming out of Yuki Tsunoda regarding his future are perhaps intended to put pressure on Red Bull to make a decision regarding his, and in turn Ricciardo's, future sooner rather than later. When asked if his impressive display has put him in contention for the Red Bull seat, Tsunoda had this to say: "Hopefully they will consider it. I think at the same time, I'll do as much as I can do to show the performance even to other teams. I just want to increase my value as a driver, that I can fight pretty strong. Obviously, I don't know what's going on with Red Bull, but hopefully they will strongly consider it as well." So the indications coming out from Tsunoda are along the lines of use me or lose me, which if he continues to display the potential that he's shown so far this season, then Yuki will certainly give Red Bull some thinking to do. Tsunoda's eagerness may well be the thing that keeps Ricciardo in Formula 1 for the time being though, as he could put himself either in the ring for promotion or into the shop window just in time for the silliest silly season in recent memory. If Tsunoda is willing to sit tight and stay embedded in the team however, well then that creates a whole other problem. Where will Liam Lawson fit into the equation? From what has been said publicly, it's understood that Lawson has been asked to sit tight and gain some behind-the-scenes experience before being let loose in the near future, with it being likely that he has been promised a seat at the Red Bull sister team by Helmut Marko. It will likely come down to who is performing better in regards to who gets retained alongside Lawson in order to provide a marker to measure just how good the Kiwi is. Though if his debut stint was anything to go by, he may prove to be an overwhelming force for either Tsunoda or Ricciardo if they are in the garage next door when Lawson moves in. For the time being, Lawson has made it clear who he thinks he will replace, as he puts a target on Ricciardo's back. I think Daniel knows that the potential to replace him is there, but I'm sure he's probably expected to step it up. Obviously this year, it's the first time in a while where everything is exactly the same. It makes it very tough to get a seat when there's multiple guys. I feel like I'm ready, but there's a lot of other guys there also. Ultimately, my goal is to get back into that seat as soon as possible. So what do you think? Could we be seeing Lawson racing this season in that RB car? And if so, is this truly the end for the Honey Badger, going out with a whimper rather than a growl? Thank you for watching.